start with a piece of fabric that has a consistent height. I'm using 6 inches because that seemed to be the biggest I could go with the scraps I wanted to use. I line the piece up on my self-healing grid right sides up. I then place another piece at the end, making sure that it extends beyond the 6 inches on both the top and the bottom. That's where the grid comes in handy. I then decide the angle at which I want to attach the two pieces and cut a straight line through both layers of fabric. Then I flip the new piece over so right sides are facing and line it up along the new cut edge. Pin and sew in place. I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. Once sewn, I finger or heat press the seam toward whatever fabric is thicker or darker and line the piece on the grid again. I then trim anything beyond the 6 inches off both the top and the bottom and repeat this process with a new piece, continuing along until I've reached my desired length. For each side of the piece you're bordering, you need a border that is as long as the side plus 2 times the height of your border. For example, I'm working with border pieces that are 3 inches tall and bordering a patchwork fabric that is 29 inches by 42 inches. So, I need 2 pieces that are 29 inches plus 6 inches and 2 pieces that are 42 inches plus 6 inches. 29 plus 6 equals 35, 35 times 2 equals 70, and 42 plus 6 equals 48, 48 times 2 equals 96, 70 plus 96 equals 166 total length of border. And since I made 6-inch tall pieces, I actually only need half of that, or 83 inches. Don't stress too much about getting the math exactly right, just overestimate if anything. I find patchwork fabric to lengthen during sewing more than most regular fabric, so in the method I'll explain for attaching corners, you don't make final cuts until the very last minute. I experimented with a few different approaches to attaching the patchwork border, but was happiest with how this method turned out. Center one border edge on a corresponding fabric edge, and sew with right sides together and a 1/4 inch seam allowance, beginning and ending exactly a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric you're bordering. Repeat on all sides so you have 2 dangling bits of patchwork at each corner. One corner at a time, fold the piece so that the 2 patchworked sides line up and form a 45-degree angle to the fold. You want your sew line to be a continuation of that fold, so I used my clear ruler to trim the patchwork a 1/4 inch below that. Pin in place and sew, being careful to begin your stitches just after the existing stitches at this corner so that they do not overlap at all. I've done a lot of garment sewing, but I'm new to quilting and certainly no expert. Longtime quilters might be pulling out their hair watching this, but I've always been intimidated by the preciseness required for patchwork, and this process worked really well for me in that it left lots of room for creativity and errors, which is really my happy place.